Hello folks, I'm Ben Tannehill, and welcome back to another edition of Throwing Water on the Fires. When I made my rant on Christopher Nolan's Batman movies, I knew deep down in my gut that people were going to react negatively towards it, and as it turns out, I was right. However, as it is the case with many of my other videos, people didn't like how I portrayed Benty Looney to give out his opinions in the video. So, that's why I started doing these videos as a way to explain my reasonings for my opinions as myself without having to worry about putting on a show for my fans. So, I'm here to give a more respectable review of Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. For starters, I'm not really a comic book fan, so I wouldn't have any idea how faithful some adaptations are to the source material. However, the reason why I love certain media based off of comic books is because I judge them on the basis of what I love to see in entertainment. That's why Teen Titans Go is something I don't like due to how much it differs from both the comics and the animated series that came before it. So, I know very little about comic books, but then again, neither do many people whose main interests are films. So, that's why I judge comic book movies as movies by themselves. After all, comic book characters are constantly changing in the source material, so you never know exactly what you're going to end up with. So, when it comes to Christopher Nolan's Batman movies, there's just little about them that entertains me as a movie fan. I'm willing to give Christopher Nolan credit for bringing something new to the table when it comes to Batman. I'm just not as big a fan of movies that have lots of dialogue that drag on forever and ever. Filmmaking is a visual medium after all, so I love for filmmakers to show rather than to tell. Some filmmakers go for the opposite, and that's good for them, but as a viewer, I'm not going to find that very entertaining to watch. I'm not saying that Nolan's movies didn't have any visuals to help tell a story, but they do rely a lot on dialogue, something that just takes me out of the experience. Then, we move on to the performances of these movies. I'm not really a big fan of any of the actors in this series, but I'm not really an actor person anyway. I make some exceptions, but I'm more of a movie fan than I am an actor fan. I tend to not watch every single movie that an actor I like is in. All I do is watch movies, and if somebody gives a good performance, I'll use that as a great quality of that movie. However, when it comes to these movies, none of the actors in them really captivate me. I'm not saying they're bad or anything, it's just that something about their performances just doesn't grab me and make me want to pay attention to them. Even though I don't follow actors, I still need great performances to get me interested in the characters and make me want to watch them. However, I'm just not very entertained by the performances in these movies. I wish I could pinpoint one specific reason that I can use to explain myself, but I really can't. Finally, these movies are just way too long. I understand that there are several plot lines going on, and the story needs to progress at the pace it does, but they just really dragged on to me. I don't mind some long movies like Lawrence of Arabia or Seven Samurai, but I feel that these movies are too convoluted for me to follow. Don't try to say it's because I'm stupid. I tend to be able to follow complicated stories, and I love plots that have so much going on all at once. However, as I said earlier, the performances really don't get me interested in the characters. So the stories that are trying to be told in these movies just can't hold my attention. However, I will admit that the action scenes are the real highlights of these films. They're well paced, well executed, and they really know how to deliver the thrills. While I prefer stories and characters when it comes to movies like these, I'm not going to ignore the action if it's able to entertain me. So, I give a big hand to all the crew members for putting together some of the best action scenes that I've seen in a modern day Hollywood film. So, there's an explanation as to why I don't really like Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. Even though comic books aren't my specialty, there are some movies based on comics I enjoy as a movie fan who's constantly craving something new with each film I watch. Unfortunately, outside the action scenes, nothing about these movies really gave me a lot to enjoy. But I can see why they have become popular, as considering what Batman was like the last time he was seen on the big screen, these films feel like breaths of fresh air to fans of the Caped Crusader. Anyway, it's hard to tell at this point what Batman's going to be like the next time we see him on the big screen. I can see that Ben Affleck is getting a lot of flack from fans. Be optimistic, folks. After all, Michael Keaton surprised audiences when Tim Burton's Batman came out. Maybe the same will be true for Ben. I enjoyed his roles in some movies that I've seen him in, so I know he's a good actor. I'll be curious to see what his approach to Batman is going to be like. Anyway, I'm Ben Tannehill. Catch you later.